That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Mortal Kombat, the reboot of the video game franchise film series, which Warner Brothers will be releasing in the US April 23rd, 2021. It opened in other territories, I believe, April 8th.
This film was directed by...
First-time director.
Oh, wow.
Simon McQuoid.
In preparation for this film, we rewatched the 1995 original film and the sequel Annihilation, the 97 film.
Which I had never seen either of those films before. Neither have I played the video games because my mother did not allow video games in the house. So,
I did play this video game in high school, so I have fond memories of it. The original fares better than the sequel.
Okay, so in 1995, I remember when this came out, and I begged and begged and begged my parents to rent it, and they did and watched it without me, and hated it, so I never just had the opportunity. But I will say that the theatrical trailer cut for that 1995 film that was directed by Paul W.S. Anderson of the Resident Evil series, so it is a good preview, or maybe it's just my nostalgia.
So I think having watched those two films like within the past couple of days, I don't know if that makes me think this film is that much better. Because I did really like this movie. I
had very low expectations, and I surprisingly thought this was a kind of a fun watch. Mm-hmm. But it does... I think it did help to watch those because it oriented me in this universe that I would have been completely lost without having that first. And also, yes, comparatively, it is...
Well, we'll talk about that. So the basic story is about a kid, well, where to begin?
In 1617 Japan.
1617 Japan, there's a character named Hanzo.
Mm-hmm. Played by Hiroyuki Sanada, who's a very famous actor.
His family is killed by a man named Baihan.
Mm-hmm. Played by Joe Taslim.
And then Baihan kills Hanzo. So then we fast forward to present day, and there is a descendant of Hanzo's named Cole, and mm-hmm. Cole is played by
Louis Tan.
Cole is like an MMA fighter, and we see him like in a match where he loses when a character named Jax approaches him.
Played by Mehcad Brooks.
Yes, and Jax is searching for Cole when
Hans Kolo.
When a character called Sub-Zero shows up.
Who is...
And Sub-Zero is Baihan. So that's when the whole like Mortal Kombat world comes into play. And I'm probably not the best person to describe this, so I feel like I shouldn't try because people will comment that I don't know what I'm talking about. But basically it's like there's this outer world that wants to take over our world, and they do it like by like a series of battles, and then if they win like 9 or 10 in a row, then they win everything. And the final battle is Mortal Kombat. So...
and I am but an ignorant purveyor of this universe, but yes, there's my understanding that at the 10th battle, there's a prophecy that says that the descendant of Hanzo will defeat Shang Tsung, who is the leader, played by Chin Han.
So Shang Tsung is like the bad person of Outer World, and then the good person defending our world is Lord Raiden.
Mm-hmm. Played by Tadanobu Asano.
So in order for Lord Raiden to try to defeat
Shang Tsung.
Tsung?
Tsung.
Okay. He sends out Jax to find like challengers. So that's why he's looking for Cole. We also find Sonya Blade.
Mm-hmm. Played by Jessica McNamee.
And Sonya Blade has captured a mercenary named Kano.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I don't understand... Who plays Kano?
Josh Lawson.
The thing I don't understand about the little foursome is people who have the mark, which is like that Mortal Kombat looking tattoo, they can summon the Arcane, which is like their like power. Like they can shoot fire or ice or whatever. So Cole has it, Kano has it, Jax has it, but Sonya Blade doesn't have it. She does end up getting it at the end because the way you can get it is by defeating someone who has it. But she's kind of a burden for most of the film.
Yeah, she's told that she can't even train.
Yeah, but anyway, so the four of them go to like the training grounds with Lord Raiden. They train to try to get their powers. There's some complications, and like Kano switches to the bad side, but ultimately they battle all of Shang Tsung's like bad guys, defeat them, and the final one is Sub-Zero.
And in there, Cole gets Lord Raiden says you can't find your arcane.
Well, that's what I was referring to by the complications.
Oh, okay.
But
Yes.
so they defeat everyone, and the final one is Sub-Zero. So they say, oh, we all have to work together to beat him. But then Cole gets dragged into like an alternate dimension with Sub-Zero, and he's getting his ass whooped. So all of a sudden, based on like an old knife that someone had, like an old bloody knife from 1617, Hanzo, who's now Scorpion, comes back from the pits of hell and helps defeat Sub-Zero. So they're successful. Sub-Zero's defeated for now. Hanzo / Scorpion goes back to hell. And Lord Raiden, says, like, we did our job. But Shang Tsung says, like, death is just...
another portal.
So we'll be back. So part 2.
Same time next year.
And then Lord Raiden says, like, the battle, like, we won this victory, but there are more to come, so we have to keep fighting. We have to find new challengers. And the final scene of the film is Cole goes back to, like, his job as an MMA fighter or whatever, and says, like, I'm not fighting anymore. I have a new job. I'm going to Hollywood. And then we see a poster that Johnny Cage is in Hollywood, which is a character from the first film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was a terrible character in the first film.
Yeah. The end. Okay. This movie's 150 minutes. It didn't feel long. It zipped by.
No, I mean, there is a lot that is glossed over. And again, I think if you're familiar with this universe, maybe all of that makes sense. I left, especially in the setup, I was left with a lot of questions. Like Sonya Blades runs through, there's that obligatory, all kinds of things pinned on the wall that she points to, and leading up to Mortal Kombat, and who gets the arcane and how they find it. All of that doesn't really make any sense, because actually what the film does, I think, quite well is once we get to the training sequences, it really breaks all that up quite efficiently into a lot of well choreographed fight sequences that there isn't really a lull in.
No. The opening of the film I thought worked really well, and it was promising because these characters in 1617 Japan were actually speaking Japanese and Chinese. So that was a great start.
Yeah.
And I thought the characterizations were good, the action's good. Something I also really liked is the blood splatter in this film.
Well, it's rated R.
Well, it's rated R, so that helps a lot. But the blood splatter in this film mimics the video game. So I really liked that.
I like that it's not really taking itself too seriously. And Josh Lawson is as Kano is kind of the one filling in for the comic relief, which is what they tried to do with the Johnny Cage character in the first one that did not work at all. So I think the script from Greg Russo and David Callaham, who also recently wrote Wonder Woman 1984, does a good job of navigating the tone.
There's some handsome men in this movie. Because you have Mehcad Brooks, who thankfully is not in a terrible Tyler Perry wig.
Yes.
You have...
Louis Tam.
Which one's he?
Cole, the lead.
Cole, yes. And then the other guy, Bai Han, who I thought looked like an Asian Channing Tatum. Okay, there are a lot of really fun scenes.
And Max Huang as well.
Who's that?
He played Kung Lao, who's kind of the mentor to Liu Kang. Liu Kang was basically the lead in the first two Mortal Kombats with that hair, played by Robin Shu.
Oh, I'm
and he's
so
kind of
lost.
the androgynous looking one in this.
You're saying he's also a handsome gentleman.
I said his mentor, Max Huang.
His mentor? Who's his mentor?
The one with the spinny hat.
Oh, yes, he's handsome as well. Well, even the little androgynous one.
Yes, played by Ludi Lin.
Okay, a fun scene is when Jax, Sub-Zero, like, the way Jax's arms get ripped off is a Sub-Zero freezes them and then they shatter. I thought that entire fight sequence was good. And then his arms getting ripped off I thought looked really good. Getting back to Sonya Blade's research wall, that was ridiculous. And I'm thinking if you go to the bathroom during that scene and you don't know what Mortal Kombat is, you will be so lost.
Poor Sonya Blade, that character in the 3 films now I've seen, they do her dirty.
They do. Poor thing. I liked the character of Kano.
I know.
I thought he was funny. He's really inappropriate.
There's a lot of Australian elements in there. I think because McQuoid is Australian. Also, Angus Sampson does the voice of Goro.
Goro looks good, the four-armed creature.
Damon Harriman, notable actor from Justified, he played Charles Manson. In Mindhunters, also Australian, does Cabal, his voice.
Okay.
The nemesis kind of Kano at first, who's with the helmet and the glowy slit eyes.
Okay.
I liked his voice work.
That's escaping me right now. When Raiden first meets the 3 challengers, and he's kind of like reading them, like, you ain't shit, you don't even have a tattoo, you really ain't shit. I thought that was funny.
I like that Raiden in the previous 2 films was played by Christopher Lambert and James Remar, these 2 white men.
So it was nice that it wasn't a white man this time? Okay.
Well, and also that it's Tadanobu Asano he was in Scorsese's Silence.
Well, why do we think Raiden...
Ragnarok.
Why do we think Lord Raiden has to be Asian?
I was reading back in the 1995 film with Christopher Lambert, who's the biggest star in that production, that there was some contention because that character is Asian.
I like how the film looks. Like, the CGI looks good. I think the fighting looks good. There are a lot of really interesting shots.
It was shot by Jermaine McMicking, who has done a film with Vincent Cassel that I really liked called Partisan, and also Berlin Syndrome is definitely worth checking out. So yeah, it has a different look about it, and there's a kind of a weird level of care that's taken for something that you would assume is so throwaway. Yes,
I agree. Okay, so when Jax's arms get ripped off, somehow he makes it from wherever he was to... Because he's in like Gary and... No, he says go to Gary, Indiana. Anyway, when Jax's arms get ripped off, he somehow ends up wherever Lord Raiden's house is. And he's like being recuperated. And they give him like these robot arms. And they are so puny. They're like little T-Rex Matthew McConaughey arms. I thought that was funny. Because when we first see him like punching a punching bag with these tiny little baby arms.
These don't work for me.
It kind of reminded me of Deadpool when... Doesn't his...
Yes,
like his legs get
when he's waiting for them to grow back. Yeah,
I thought it was kind of like that. Another really good scene is Kung Lao. He's the one with the hat, right?
Yes.
He's being attacked by some winged lady and Natara.
That was a good scene.
That's right. And then he like has his like he throws his hat down like on the ground like a table saw and then splits her in half. That was really good.
She has a very brief role. Again, since I was so ignorant of this, even watching the first one, because Kano in the first one gets dispatched very early on, and Reptile in this one, who's kind of made to look like a Komodo dragon.
I thought that looked good.
It looks really good. Obviously, much better special effects.
And the fight sequence with the lizard person, I thought was effective.
Right, but also just really in that one scene.
Yeah.
It's
There's another character named Melina who I thought who I thought looked like Tinashe, but that's not that character's name or actor's name. Anyway, she looks really cool. Like, she has a mouth that opens wide and her teeth are like monsters, or like a monsters. I thought that was
like
really
a snake
fun.
that detaches.
That's all I have. I enjoyed it. It was fun. If I would have paid money to see it in a theater, I would have been satisfied. So if you like the video game, certainly if you like the original films, I think you would really like this one.
Good score by Benjamin Wallfish as well.
The remix of the Mortal Kombat song I thought was good. It plays during the end credits.
Compared to, if the last thing in your memory is Mortal Kombat 2 Annihilation, which is pure garbage, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. I don't know. Compared to like the latest Godzilla movie, which neither of us liked.
No.
Yeah, it's something of that ilk, this comic kind of mainstream franchise material. I was pleasantly surprised. I don't know.
Yeah. What would you give it?
I think 3 out of 5.
I would give it 3 out of 5 as well. Thank you.